So yeah, so it was kind of a win-win. And so we went in, did one day. I'm not gonna, there. Can you guys hear us?
Barely.
All right. Well, hopefully you can hear. Sarah, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Oh, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
There she is. I can't hear you.
No? That might be.
Can you hear me? Thumbs up if you can hear me, Sarah. Okay. Well, we are on a little bit of a time crunch because we have Ignite starting at 1. So I told Jess we would be done by 12:45 or soon after. I can hear you both. Okay, good. Okay. All right. All right. Well, as long as you can hear me, I'll try to check the chat. If you have a question, I'll try and remember to check it every little bit here. So, okay. Well, we are going to talk about 36 touch. Come on in. Hi. Good to see you again.
You too. Sorry I'm late.
That's fine. We're just getting started. So Kim, you should know the answer to this. What does 36 touch mean? We throw that term out all the time. You hear us talk about it in our trainings, in mega camp stuff, all the time. What does it actually mean? Do you know? Do you remember?
Well, I know it means that you contact that person somehow, but I can't remember how many times a year.
36.
It is 36,
yep.
So it's like by cards, email,
yep.
calling.
All of that.
Everything. Yep.
So 36 touch is 36 touches. That means 36 times a year that you're intentionally reaching out to someone. Now, you want it to be as many someones as possible. The more people you have on a 36 touch plan, the better. And I should have come in here prepared with actual statistics, but it's something like for every 200, I'm kind of making these numbers up, but they're what I remember. It's something like for every 200 people or 250 people, something like that, that you have on a consistent 36 touch program, you should be able to count on something like 10-ish transactions a year. And those aren't exact numbers. I can try and find the exact numbers, but I mean, it's a pretty significant number of transactions that's coming to you. Here's the other piece. Your 36 touch really should be your sphere or people that you already have or are nurturing a relationship with. So for instance, if I host an open house and I meet someone at an open house, I'm probably not going to throw them on a full 36 touch plan until I've established a relationship with them. Does that make sense? Because if all of a sudden they're hearing from me, they don't know who I am, that might be a little too much. If you do the math, 36 touches a year is 3 touches a month.
So like on command, is it insights when you send the neighborhood information?
Yeah.
That's 1 touch, right?
Exactly.
And it's every month?
Exactly. So Kim is touching on, I think, an important part about a 36 touch. Some of it does need to be, you know, personal, like you're picking up the phone or you're reaching out to them kind of one-on-one, but you really want to set up a 36 touch where a fair amount of it is automatic and you have to take the time to set it up, but then you don't have to think about it again. That's pretty important, because if you have to sit down and think about 3 reasons a month to reach out to 200 people, I mean, you're going to get overwhelmed and you're just never going to do it. I mean, there's just no way that you would be able to do it. So you want to have as much of it automated or, you know, sort of like set and forget as possible. And so I brought in some examples. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I started my 36 touch when I was an individual agent. And then obviously now I have a team, I have an admin, Sara is on my team. A lot of this now is taken care of by Stacy, my director of clients experience. And so even though it's not my time, it's still sometimes a fair amount of her time. So I'm going to just kind of pass a few, well, I'll talk here and pass things out, and then I'll try and remember to show them to you guys. Hey, are you coming in for the class or just passing through? The class. Oh, good. Did you say that because I called you out or because? Yes. I'm glad you're here. What's your name?
I'm Steven.
Steven, that's what I thought. Okay, I'm Sara Anderson. I have seen you around and seen you on Facebook, so glad to actually meet you. Okay, so we're talking about 36 touch, reaching out to your sphere 36 times a year. Kim mentioned the neighborhood nurture or neighborhood snapshot through command. That's absolutely a fantastic way to get into people's inbox at least once a month. That is sending them, and again, you have to get this set up. The initial setup takes time, but once you get that going for each person on your 36 touch, you don't really have to think about it again. It's an email that goes to them once a month. It's got sort of a snapshot of their neighborhood. They can actually go in then and do searches and add neighborhoods, and they can customize it should they choose to. If they do nothing other than open it up, it's still going to be a snapshot of what homes are for sale and sold in their neighborhood. And for most of us, if you're a homeowner, you're pretty curious what homes in your neighborhood are selling for. So I think that there's a fairly high likelihood that homeowners are going to click on that email. Another thing that I have done for years now that is very much a set and forget. One of the things I'm going to take a step back. I want to focus on things that are either free, like the neighborhood snapshot email. That's free. I guess you pay for it with command, your $45 tech fee a month, but there's no additional cost to that. And you can reach as many people as you want to reach. Another option that is free is the MailChimp. You can create newsletters or even just mass emails to send out through command. So command and MailChimp are attached. I'm just going to pass this out. This is the newsletter that Stacy creates for my team. And I'm sorry, it printed kind of funny. But look at that. I have exactly the number that I need. Sorry, folks on Zoom, but it's our newsletter. She actually creates this every Friday. So I'll just tell you, our team does, I don't even know how many touches a month, or how many touches in a year. It's well over 36 because we have essentially probably 48 with this, because we take a few weeks off throughout the year, but for the most part, this goes out every Friday. So that's that many touches right away. And then we do our postcards and we do birthdays and we do several other things as well. But this is just an example of a newsletter that you can create through MailChimp. Again, free. It takes time. You do have to create this. It's not a set and forget. I highly recommend as an individual agent that you maybe step back from once a week and do once, maybe twice a month. Because here's the thing with a 36 touch, and kind of like, was it David, the rookie, if you guys were at the team meeting, the rookie of the year that was speaking earlier, he was talking about patience, getting something started and sticking with it. That consistency is what makes a 36 touch work. So you reach out to your sphere 3 times in 1 month. That's not good enough. It needs to be 3+ times a month consistently for several months, if not several years. And then you'll start seeing the return on that. So if you're going to do a newsletter like this and you have to create it, make sure that you are being realistic in your time and how much time you're willing and able to put into creating it on a regular basis. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be once a week. It can be once a month and it can still be effective, especially if you're doing the neighborhood nurture once and then a newsletter once a month. That's 2 touches right there. But it's also really important that you do more than just email. Because one thing that I've learned is that email is really easy for people to just scroll right past and never open or delete. I can't tell you how many emails I get in a day and I don't even open them. I just click, 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 delete. Right? Your inboxes, if they're not already, they will be full of people trying to sell you things. So just keep that in mind, that my take with the newsletter, we have a pretty decent open rate. It's around at any given week, somewhere in the 20 to 25% open rate, and that's pretty good. But I also realize that that means there's 75 to 80% of people that don't open it, but at least while they were going to delete it, they had to see my team name. That's what I'm going for, is that they're seeing my team name on a regular basis, whether they open it up or not. Okay, so those are 2 free ways that you can get out in front of people. What are some other free ways that you can reach people? We're gonna get to social media. I heard you whisper that. We're gonna get to social media. I'm gonna be really honest and tell you, I don't think social media should count towards your 36 touch. It's not intentional. You can be intentional about what you're posting, but you don't know that someone's receiving it on the other side, right? So that can enhance, absolutely. You heard the guy today talk about how social media is what drives his business. And I would say pretty much the same for me. But a 36 touch should be very intentional, professional touches to your sphere. So we'll talk about social media a little bit at the end. What's another free way to reach people? It's the one none of you want to do.
Door knocking.
Oh, door knocking. That's a good one. That's free. Time, but free.
Cold call.
Not even cold calling, because this is your sphere, but calling. And if you really, really hate calling, because I really, really hate calling, text people, but reach out to your sphere by phone, call or text. You can, and Jess, I'm sure, has taught you guys the D2, I can never say that right, but where you're going, you know, each quarter you're hitting your entire database. Do that, because that's going to help make this stuff that we're talking about mean even more to them when they actually get that email or they get the postcard. So free email, whether it's MailChimp and or Command Neighborhood Nurture, pick up the phone. If you're farming a neighborhood, get out and door knock so that those people get to know you. My old neighborhood, I will be honest, I haven't been as consistent about it in my new neighborhood. We moved 2.5 years ago, but in my old neighborhood, they get my postcard and they get my newsletter, and I would door knock. And 100% of the time when I would go out and door knock, I would have at least 5 to 10 people answer their door and say, I have your recipe hanging on my fridge. Or, hey, We made the brownies that you sent out a couple months ago and my kids loved them. It happened all the time. These are people I'd never even met. But because of the consistency that they were hearing from me, they felt like they knew me. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right, we're gonna kind of move a little bit into parts of a 36 touch that you're gonna pay for. And this is why I wanted to start off with the free, because you can get a few touches. You can create a 36 touch and not spend anything. And that's okay. But you're gonna wanna grow, and in doing that, you're gonna take on some expenses. So these next steps are things that once you get there, maybe you decide I wanna have 2 closings before I start paying for postcards. But these are postcards that I sent out. These are old ones that I just happen to have in my office, so I thought I'd bring them in. This is through a company called Sensations, S-E-N-D, S-A-T-I-O-N-S. Just go to sensations.com and you can kind of check out what they have. My experience with Sensations is there's lots and lots and lots and lots of different postcard campaigns that you can choose from. One of them in here, as I was looking through this, I was like, oh, I forgot I did that. It's about curb appeal. So this was kind of home improvement stuff. I remember one year I did one that was on green cleaning or something like that. But you do whatever you want to do. I really stayed away in the beginning. I stayed away from the recipe cards because I thought every realtor is doing stupid recipe cards. I want mine to stand out. The first 2 years that I did Sensations, I cannot point to any business that I got from those postcards. Once I shifted to doing recipes, because the Sensations sales guy talked me into doing recipes, and I reluctantly said yes. Now, this is a topic of conversation almost everywhere I go. When I bump into people at Target, or now people will they'll get the recipe in the mail. It's usually a dessert one, I've noticed. And they're like, I have one guy, he's a single dad, he's got 3 kids. Pretty much every month, they make whatever the recipe is, and he takes a picture of it and sends it to me and gives me a little review. They loved it. Or my kids didn't like the ricotta cheese. There was one that was calzones, and he said they didn't like the ricotta cheese, so I made it with mozzarella, and they loved it. Just little things like that. But that is consistent communication that I'm having with that previous client because he likes to get these cards in the mail. One story I have, we moved. So I had been farming 2 neighborhoods, my old neighborhood, and then we moved from my old neighborhood to my farm, my new neighborhood. And so we had lived there for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months. But I'd been sending postcards to that neighborhood for a couple of years. Some little girl is having a bake sale. She put little flyers in mailboxes. So I decided I would go. I have never met these people. I'm walking up the driveway and the mom said, we had your stroganoff for dinner last night. She knew exactly who I was. So I highly recommend get over the whole everyone does recipes thing and do recipes. It's a conversation starter. These, depending on how many, obviously the more postcards you send out, the more it's going to cost. So you're going to want to look into that. And honestly, everybody, start small. Maybe you start with sending it to 30 to 50 people. And then as you grow, you can add. I mean, I send these out to over 700 people now, but I certainly didn't start that way. I think I started with less than 100. And those were people that I really knew. And then as my business grew and I kind of started farming these neighborhoods, now that's, the bulk of who gets them, and then my sphere as well.
So do they create postcards and send them to you, or they send them out?
They send it out. So you get your mailing list, you upload it to Sensations, and then they take it from there. I do nothing. I now get it. I finally put myself on it because people kept talking to me about recipes, and I don't know what they're sending out. I have no idea. So now at least I know what people got in the mail. But no, you don't have to think about it. And then it's 12 months. So if you signed up today, then it would probably be, you do a year. And then next August or September, Sensations will reach out to you and tell you your year is almost up and do you want to do a new campaign? And then you can pick a new one.
Okay.
And there are several, I don't even know how many recipe options. So now I'm just sort of rotating through all of the recipe options, but there are others as well. You don't have to do recipes. I'm just telling you, there was a clear shift in the feedback that I got when I started doing recipes. Not a single person ever commented on my green cleaning tips or the curb appeal one. Once it was recipes, it became a pretty big topic of conversation. Now, a couple years ago, I shifted to doing this one that has the calendar at the bottom and it's got a magnet on the back so they can slap it on their fridge. Again, this is going to cost more. So in the beginning, it was just this, just the top part. It was the picture with the branding on the back. Start with that if you're not comfortable with the expense of the calendar. So the thing is, you can make this work for what you want it to be and what your budget is at that time. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's Sensations. There are lots of other,
Is that the one you can co-brand with the vendor?
speaking of, hey. You can probably co-brand any of them, but you could co-brand this.
It makes it cheaper.
Well, then you would split the cost.
Okay.
And I believe it has to be 50-50. I'm not positive on that, but Brian would know or Drake would know.
Okay.
But yeah, you can do that. That's a great idea. It's a little tricky with making sure all the branding fits. So just make sure that it all fits on there. Okay. But yep, absolutely. Yeah, I lost my train of thought for a second, but I was going to ask a question. What?
Oh.
Yeah. Well, any questions? Oh, I was going to say Sensations is not the only postcard option. I know there are lots of other companies that will do this. I personally think Sensations is the most maybe dated looking. Like I would love something that was a little more updated looking, but they're the cheapest that I have found. And again, just like that email, most people are going to delete it. I know that most people are throwing this in the trash. So I'm really not willing to spend much money per postcard for someone to throw it away. So I would rather just get it out in front of people and then pay a little bit less, even if I don't love the way it looks.
Well, I like the magnet and the calendar because it keeps, if they're going to put it on their fridge, it's going to keep you in front of them.
Exactly. And this calendar, so the one that went out in October has November's calendar. So it's the next month's calendar. So then they can throw it on their fridge and have it as a reference. But even just the recipe piece, when it's the recipe, even if you don't have the calendar, if it's something that looks interesting to them or that they want to try, they're going to keep it. And it still has your branding all over it when they decide they're ready to make that chocolate cake or whatever it is. So don't feel like you have to do the calendar part yet. You can get there. Okay, this is a little bit of an expense. It's not too bad. Like I said, start small. Steven.
Those sensation cards, do they land on a specific day of the month?
Yes. So it's, I believe if you look at the Sensations site, you can go in and see it's by week.
Okay.
So I think mine go out on the 3rd week of the month. So it's not necessarily an exact date, but I know that this is landing in mailboxes the 3rd week of the month. And you actually bring up an excellent point. You don't want all of your touches to happen at the same time. You want them to be spread out. So when I'm thinking about an email or I'm thinking about my newsletter, I'm going to time it so it's a different week than this one. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that there's a week or two or at least several days between those touches. Excellent question. I don't know if you can pick. I didn't pick. I just was given that week. So I suppose you could if you really had a week you wanted it to go out.
So the reason why I asked on that is you kind of given me an aha. So
right.
I don't know if it's too early to have an aha moment.
You can have an aha moment anytime.
So I was thinking being able to utilize a reason to contact them, as a touch of its own. And if I could kind of know what day they're going to get it, I can potentially use something like Instacart to send them the ingredients.
Oh.
So that way they can do it. And then I can
That's a great idea.
What they thought of it
Well, I would say, so that you know essentially exactly when they get it, put yourself on, send yourself one. Like I didn't do that for the first 3 years, and then it occurred to me, oh, I could just send myself one and then I would know. And then I know what recipe it is too. I love that idea.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Yep. Good. I like that aha. The next one I'm going to talk about is a pretty decent expense. If you can do it on your own, if you can create it on your own, you'll save yourself a fair amount of money. But this is a newsletter that I started doing, oh gosh, probably 3.5 to 4 years ago, somewhere in there, maybe 3 years ago. But I mail this. This is sent in the mail. So has anyone heard of American Lifestyle magazine? Has anyone ever done that? I got sucked into it when I was a brand new agent. It's quite expensive. It is beautiful. If you ever see one, if you're at someone's house and you see one, it's a beautiful magazine, and you can pay then to have it branded to you. So it's your picture, it's your branding all throughout the magazine. It is beautiful. And I got sucked into doing it and spending all that money. And the feedback that I got was that people thought it was a very nice looking publication, but that they wished it was local, because it was usually West Coast or East Coast. There was nothing Midwest, nothing Minnesota in it. So when my contract with them was up, I decided to discontinue that because, again, something that I couldn't point to any business that I'd gotten from those magazines, and they were very expensive, in my opinion, at the time at least. So I decided that I was going to make my own. Now, this is not a fancy publication, obviously, but it's local, and it's very now, and it's very based on the current market right here in the Twin Cities. So it's morphed a little bit over the years. When I first started, this is not my cup of tea. I am not a graphic designer. Like I said, if you know how to do this, great, you will save yourself a ton of money. I have a friend that is a graphic designer. She created this for me. So I paid her, then I paid to have them printed, and I paid to have them sent. So it ended up being a pretty big expense. It also took a lot of time to put together, because I had to gather the articles and gather the information and write. I always wrote an article. It's gotten shorter and shorter over the years as I have less time to do it. But this goes out quarterly, because I realized very quickly that it took way too much time and, frankly, money for me to send this out on a monthly basis. They were already getting the postcards from me once a month. They were already getting emails from me once or twice a month. So this was going to be quarterly. Is this the new one? Yeah, this is our new one that Stacy now designed. So I no longer pay the graphic designer, but obviously we're still paying to have it printed, and we're paid to have it mailed out. And I got a little more careful with who I sent this to as well. I've been sending it to those 700 people that get the Sensations postcard. And I just decided I needed this really to go to people that I know well and that I knew would appreciate it and actually take the time to open it up. So I do a little article on the front. We always have a featured property at the top. And then I have vendors that I kind of rotate through that provide us articles or blog posts that we can use. This one happens to have Matt. He is a mortgage broker that I have worked with. And then Stacy reached out to the cabinet store in Apple Valley, and they provided us with a blog post and some photos. We do not charge them. You certainly could, to help offset the cost. Part of my mission when I first got my real estate license was to work with small businesses and to help give them a voice. And so I did it. I was going to pay for it no matter what. So I figured I would just, you know, again, like Matt, he's my biggest fan because I'll put his name in here for free. But as a new agent, I really would recommend, if you have, you know, you could charge people to have. I wouldn't do like the 50-50 with a lender necessarily, but I could have charged these two professionals to have their name in here.
Who's the other one you did? You did it with Matt and who?
This is the cabinet store in Apple Valley. So they're just a small local business in Apple Valley, and Stacy had gone there for something. And so she's like, I want to reach out to them. And I said, great. And they provided a great article about remodeling your kitchen, like quick, easy ways to remodel your kitchen. And then we have, I thought I brought in, this one, that I always have market statistics. And granted, by the time they land in their mailbox, these are usually a month or so old, but that's okay. It's still a good snapshot of the market in the Twin Cities. And I just do the whole Twin Cities because this is going to people in Apple Valley and people in Andover. So I just want to keep it as general as possible. So again, when they get it in the mail, it looks like this. It's folded up, has a little sticker that's holding it closed. If they never open it, if all they do is walk it over to their recycle bin, they have to see my face on either side. And the reason we put the market statistics on the outside is at the very least, they're probably going to look at that. Because again, everyone's curious what home prices are. Everyone's curious how quickly homes are selling. So we put that here so that they're getting that information even if they never open this up.
What's the name of that company again? The company that does those?
That makes these? It's Stacy, my Director of Client Experience.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was saying. There are graphic designers that will do it. And if you know how to create a template, that's all my graphic designer did, is she created a template. And then every month I'd send her what I wanted in it and she would just plop it all in. So that first time was a lot of setup. But then, do we have questions? I forgot to check the chat. Okay. Oh, picking up the phone. Yeah, Sarah's on my team. When I asked what's another free way to reach people, she said, pick up the phone. Good job, Sarah. This is an expense, but I really think, but I mean, I found it to be worth it. As a matter of fact, the first one I ever sent out, I ended up getting a listing and a buyer. And it didn't even go to him. It went to his ex-wife. He was there went to the home to pick up his daughter and just literally said to his ex-wife, like, oh, I'm just really thinking I need to get out of my house and into a townhouse. And she went, call her. And he did. And now he's a client and she'll be a client eventually as well. So immediately right off the bat, I could point to business that I got from sending this out. And that's what's important. You're going to have to take risks. I took a risk with the American Lifestyle magazine and it ended up, that was money that didn't hurt, but it certainly didn't bring me business, at least not that I can point to. But then I stopped doing it. And that's the thing, is you need to give things time. You're not going to get business most likely from the first one you send out. But once you've been consistent, it will. It's another way to show that you are a professional. What time is it? But be mindful of what you're spending. I talk a lot as growth coach. I talk a lot about lead with revenue. Do not spend money you don't have. And so if that means that in the beginning you're sending these postcards out to 50 people, that's fine. It's something. It's a step in the right direction. And then as you have closings, as you gain profit, you can build on that marketing piece and really focus on the free stuff in the beginning. Door knocking, picking up the phone and calling or texting people, taking advantage of the free emails that we have. Do that in the beginning so that you can really grow, get in front of people and grow without the huge price tag. I'm going to tell you a little story and then I'll see if you guys have questions and we can wrap up here, because who's staying for Ignite? Anybody? Good deal. Awesome. In the beginning, when I first got my license, I sent out a postcard. Oh, forgot about these. This is another thing that we do as 36 Touch, is the little birthday postcard, and then I write a little note. So I'm not going to spend much time talking about these, but that's just another part of that'd be one touch of your 36. Another one that we have been not super consistent about, but is the home anniversary, sending them a home anniversary card. We just do it on the 1 year that they bought. Okay, when I first got licensed, I did do the American Lifestyle magazine stuff, but I sent out a postcard that I created to pretty much everyone, like my entire Christmas card list, just everyone that I could think of, and announced that I was a realtor, and I put it on, so here, we'll get to social media. And I put it on social media. And in my mind, I thought, okay, check, I told everybody I know that I'm a realtor. So then I started focusing on people that I met at open houses and FSBO appointments that I went on. And that's who I was sending postcards to. That's who I was kind of reaching out to on a regular basis, sending monthly emails to, sending these postcards to. And I will say I had my first deal within a minute of getting my license because my sister bought a condo. And then after that, I had a couple of friends that bought. And then I didn't have anything for a long time. And I couldn't figure out why it was so hard, why people weren't using me. And even though they knew that I was a realtor, right? And they were seeing me post fun things on Facebook. I was really struggling with that. And then I don't even remember why this popped into my head. But all of a sudden, it occurred to me that maybe I should add those people, my whole sphere, to the email that I was sending out once a month. Does anyone know why I hadn't done that right from the beginning?
Thought it was a given?
Thought it was a given, and I didn't want to
Bug your friends.
I didn't want to bug my friends. I didn't think they needed to hear from me because I'd already told them. And I just thought it'll just clutter up their inbox. Or it's just, I don't need to spend money on postcards to like my best friends and my family. I don't need to do that. So fast forward now to a year or so in, and I'm just really feeling like it was this uphill battle to get business. And it occurred to me to put all of those emails into at the time it was e-edge, and that was the email that went out once a month. And then I added them to my postcards, and then I added them to my newsletter. And I kind of did this as I could afford to, but I got things out over that next 6 to 8 months. I made sure everyone was hearing from me those 36 plus times a year. And my business now is pretty much 95%, kind of like the guy that was talking today, 95% referral based. I very, very rarely have to go out and fight for business. Most of the time it's coming to me because of all the touches that they're getting throughout the year or throughout each month from me. And here's what I realized, and it took a little while for me to put my finger on why it made a difference. I was a teacher. Went out of college, I was a teacher, and then I was a stay-at-home mom for 11 years. When I told people that I was getting my real estate license, I got a lot of this. Oh my gosh, you'll be so good at that. Oh my gosh, you'll be so good at that. And I think we all kind of experience that, right? Because we're nice people. People think, yeah, you'll be great at that. You'd be fun to work with. But when it came down to it, they still saw me as a stay-at-home mom. So when my friends and even my family were talking to their coworkers or their neighbors or their friends, and their sphere would say, I'm thinking about selling, it wasn't my name that popped into their head, right? Because I was still a stay-at-home mom that was doing real estate. I wasn't the realtor that popped into their head. Once I started sending them the monthly emails and sending them these postcards, couple things happened. First off, I was in front of them on a regular basis, right? So that was a regular reminder. But, and I think even more importantly, they saw me as a professional. I was no longer a stay-at-home mom that liked to sell houses sometimes. Now, this was my career. Does that make sense? But it took a very concerted effort on my part to show them that this was a career path for me, not just something that I was doing so I could get out of the house sometimes, which even my mom and dad viewed me as someone that was a stay-at-home mom who liked to sell houses sometimes. And now they're my biggest fans, thankfully. But that's why the 36 touch is so important beyond social media. Social media is where you can show that you're fun to work with. It's where you can be in front of people on a regular basis. But those emails, these newsletters, these postcards, these are the marketing pieces that are gonna show that you are a professional. Okay? Any questions?
I was on a master call this morning, and they were talking about the 8x8 touch, and then you hear the 33 touch, and you hear the 36 touch. It's like
33 touches going away.
Okay.
Yeah. Used to be a
That's what I
33
was gonna
touch.
ask, what can I weed out of that?
Yeah. 33 touch and 36 touch are the same thing. I don't know why they changed the number, but 36 touches now, according to the new and the MREA, Millionaire Real Estate book that will be coming out at some point, that's the new plan, is a 36 touch. And I don't know if it's simply as easy as breaking it down to 3 touches a month instead of 33, which is a little weirder than that. So that one you don't have to worry about. If you're doing a 36 touch, you're already doing the 33. The 8x8. So if you recall, I mentioned that when I meet someone at an open house, I do not throw them on my 36 touch right away. I establish a relationship. That's the 8x8. An 8x8 is reaching out to them essentially once a week for 8 weeks, somehow. Call, text, email, whatever it might be. But you're establishing that relationship. Hopefully you're hearing back from them at some point. And then once you're done with that 8x8, then you can throw them on a 36 touch, because now they know who you are, versus if you just throw them on a 36 touch and they don't really know who you are yet.
Okay.
So those two it's kind of a precursor to putting them on the 36 touch. There's also the 19 to connect, if you've ever heard of that. That's probably similar to an 8x8, where you're touching them fewer times in a year, but you're reaching out to them regularly 19 times to kind of establish the relationship. One thing that we didn't talk about at all is, thanks Carissa, is client events. And we're running out of time here, but that's another touch. So if you are planning to do, I know client events are weird right now. It's hard to know what to do. I love his idea of doing the pop buys for your client base, or even just your friends and family. So trying to do kind of, safe social distance type things. But that's another touch. So if you, I do a holiday event every year. The invitation is a touch. The event itself is a touch. So that's the one thing about having a client event, is reaching out and inviting people. That's actually one of the touches. And then, some are going to come, most are not, but then the event itself. And then sometimes too, I'll follow up with people that didn't come. Just be like, hey, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to see you. Hopefully you can make it next time. So you can even sometimes get 3 touches with a client event. Real quick, my advice on client events is, a lot of times, and I remember thinking this early on too, like, I'm going to have a barbecue at a park, and I'm going to invite all of my clients to come and hang out at this park. Your clients don't know each other. They don't want to come and hang out with each other. So think of client events that are either they can come and get something, or you drop something off where you get to connect with them, but that's all. They're not there to connect with other people. And do not get hung up on how many people actually participate. That's not the point. The point is that you invited them. It will mean something whether they can make it or not. It will mean something that you thought to invite them. Whether they can come to the actual event or participate in the actual event is really beside the point. Does that make sense? Okay. Because I know people that have put together bowling events, and then, 3 people come, and they feel like, they feel defeated that only 3 people came. Well, no, that don't get hung up on that. It was the fact that you invited your entire database. That's the touch that was important. Any helpful information in here today? I hope. Okay, good.
Can I see one of those? And the postcard?
Sure. Oh, the newsletter?
The newsletter and
Yes.
postcard.
Again, we just created, actually she was
Can I see
all
the
this
soup
in
one too?
Sorry. Yeah. It's my old branding. These are just a little postcard. She created these in Canva. I think we even ordered them from Canva. It wasn't done by 12.
You're okay.
But we're done. We're pretty much done now. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts? Anything that popped into your head that you'd like to share as an idea?
Did these come back to your office here or your home?
Those came back to the ones that got returned.
Yeah.
So I think it's once or twice a year. It's not more than that. Sensations will send everything first class. It's more expensive, but then you get them returned. So then I knew who to take off.
Oh,
You know, because I'm going
yeah.
send postcards that are going out into nowhere. So they came back here. It's whatever address you put in the system.
Okay. Perfect.
But the one that I sent myself goes to my home.
Okay.
And then my kids like to make fun of it. All right, that's all I got.
You
Have
want
a
this
good.
back or can I have it?
I have several.
Okay.
You can keep those if you want them as little souvenirs.
Yeah, I like the recipe.
Do you? Good. There you go. I got it. This one. This must all be like when because all of these are the same.
And where did you get those? Sorry.
The postcards.
Yeah, the recipe thing.
Yeah, that's a company called Sensations.
Okay.
It's just a postcard company. They send it out once a month. You upload your mailing list. There it is. Look at that. And then the nice thing is you just don't have to think about it again, other than when they.
Do they find a recipe that's seasonal or something, or do you provide that too?
Nope, you don't provide anything other than the addresses. No, it's whatever, you can go look if you go to the website.
Yeah.
It's whatever, like recipe campaign that you choose.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a few now. The one, like what I'm doing right now is 1 month it's an entree and then the next month it's a dessert. So they kind of get every other.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
Good.
Well, thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. This was good. I'll send it out one of these days.
Enjoy Ignite.
Bye. Okay, bye. Okay, Kim, you brought one of these, right? This was Sensations stuff and stuff in it. You want another one?
I know.
You didn't get one?
No.
Do you write people's names on it so then I know who I give them to?
Thank you.
Who wasn't here before? And one of mine is in there. And yeah, Fanny gets the recipe.
Ooh,
doesn't
man,
she?
like your gritty mint cheesecake.
Fanny said that she mails her she mailed one of my recipe cards to Greece. I was like, oh my God, I'm in Greece on a fridge.
Getting famous.
Okay, so I gotta turn this off and, well, do I? Yes.
You said you use that, Archie, is it that photographer you sent me?
Archipix,
Archie,
yep,
what's that?
Archipix, I don't know how to say it.
Archie Pix or whatever.
Okay, so people on Zoom, if you're gonna come back on to Ignite, do the regular, Chris, I'm talking to you. The regular login, the other one, yeah, okay. Okay, oops.